out of quarter.
Due to the graphic nature of the following program, viewer discretion is advised.
So I think that we resolved all the minor misdemeanors from the last time that we were in court. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, so those waivers have all been paid.
Yes, they were paid.
All right, you did pay them or you will pay them?
They paid.
You did, all right, thank you very much. So we have a 2011 case. And the 2011 case is says that this is the one that Willie was preparing the pre-sentence report on. Mr. Hines, is this the case you prepared the pre-sentence report on?
Yeah, it's two cases, 2011, yes, and a 2015 case.
Okay, so both of those are set for sentencing. The 2017 case
That's the new one.
is the 1324 Isaiah LLC case, and that is that has a not guilty plea.
And Your Honor, at this time, the city is moving to dismiss that case. We were here a week ago on this case. It was
Yes.
pushing over age. Upon further investigation, the inspector is no longer there. The conditions no longer remain. The city is dismissing the 2017.
Okay. And these are, Mr. Hines, do you have there had been a pretrial back in August, and I'm looking for the notes from that. Do you have the notes from that pretrial? Due to the age of the files for both the 2011 case and the 2015 case, and the fact that there had been a resentencing on those, I'm going to terminate community control on both of those cases and grant the city's motion to dismiss 2017 CRB 7827. So were there outstanding fines on this case, these old cases? Before I do that, I want to make sure that I'm sorry.
The previous judge put a $30,000 fine to Max Meisel because he wasn't fixing up anything.
Yes.
And also, he ordered him to go to house arrest. He did his house arrest time, and he's still not fixing up the property. So the fine, he filed a bankruptcy, Chapter 13.
Yes.
He's paying $2,800 a month to Chapter 13 for 60 months, which took effect February of this year, the bankruptcy.
Judges.
Yes, Mr. Reed.
If I may say.
Yes.
All right, he did file the Chapter 13.
And that was Mr. Smith personally or 1324 Isaiah LLC?
Personally, yeah.
Personally.
Because the older cases are against the business entity. It was the 2000s, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm incorrect on that. The 2011 case is against Mr. Smith personally. The 2015 case is against 1324 Isaiah. So please continue.
Okay. He filed a Chapter 13 to try to streamline. He had 16 properties, and he was overwhelmed. So through the Chapter 13, he surrendered 6 of those properties. So now he has 10. And out of those 10, during that period of time, he's done everything he could to keep these properties up. There's no doubt that they were in need of work prior to this, but since that time, since the house arrest and so forth, he's done everything to bring those properties up to par, and he's going to continue to do it. So we see the max fine. I'm not sure that it says max fine here, but I'm not sure he's been sentenced to that amount.
Yes, he
I
was.
think what it says is the maximum fine. You know.
Yes. The previous judge put that 30,000.
And I'm looking for, I mean, this is such a,
And the pictures are with the,
it does show the balance due. And this is from printout on February 27th, 2018, as $34,440. Now, did you include that? Are you handling the bankruptcy, Mr. Reed, or is someone else?
No, I am not handling the bankruptcy, so.
So do you know if that
You have to speak for
fine
yourself on that.
is a fine dischargeable in
Is
bankruptcy?
that fine part of the
I'm
the
not sure.
bankruptcy?
I'm not sure. I'd have to see. Rouser and Associates is handling that.
All right, then what I'm going to do is this. I'm not going to, there's a couple of things that I'm going to need Mr. Reed for you to look into further. Number one is whether or not the fine from this case was listed in as a debt in the bankruptcy. Off the top of my head, I don't know if criminal fines are dischargeable in bankruptcy or not. So I'm going to need you to look at that issue because we are still showing a $34,440 outstanding fine and costs. I don't know if that's changed at all since earlier this year in February. Second thing that I'd like you to look at is you said that there were 6 of the properties.
Yes.
That frequently what we see in our court is someone files bankruptcy and they think that they have lost properties through the bankruptcy process. But frequently the bankruptcy trustee will abandon the real property out of the bankruptcy estate because they look at it and decide that it doesn't have any value.
I understand.
So you'll want to check to see on those properties to find out whether or not they've actually transferred out of your name or not. And maybe they're in process of that happening. So I'd recommend that you speak with with the bankruptcy trustee regarding what they're doing with those. Because you may think that they're
I
gone,
will.
but they're still yours.
I will, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to continue the 2011 case and the 2015 case until May 31st. So we'll give you 3 weeks to look into those issues. So what I had said before about terminating community control, I'm not going to do that because I think we still need to sort out what the status is. And it actually would not be in Mr. Smith's, it'd be to your detriment if I just terminated the community control with you still owing $34,000.
Yes,
because
Your
once I
Honor.
terminate it, I can't modify the order.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank
So,
you.
all right, so let's find out what's going on with these. It'd help if as soon as you have information, you can update Mr. Hines.
Okay, Your Honor.
So that I have that information. Mr. Hines, what would you like to say?
Yes, Your Honor, at the time I was doing the pre-census report, the properties are still in his name.
Okay.
Okay.
So
They have not been transferred.
so how recent is your update, Mr. Hines?
I started this pre-census report March the 2nd, 2018.
All right, and Mr. Smith, when did you file for bankruptcy?
I believe it was in September, Your Honor.
September of 2017?
Yes, but Your Honor, I believe they said that we had a hearing, and then in January, they were still trying to work through some things. And
Okay.
Your Honor, the plan was put into effect on February 2018, the Chapter 13 plan for him to make the payment. That's when it was put into effect.
And that'd be part of it, but it's still the issue that's outstanding is what they're going to do with those 6 properties.
Right, and if I look at the Chapter 13 plan, I can determine what's included, what's not included, what can be included, what not be included, because I'm familiar with the
Okay.
bankruptcy law.
Thank you. Do you know whether a criminal fine is dischargeable in bankruptcy?
Well, I think in a Chapter 7, it would not be. But
Okay.
in the Chapter 13, we put it in because actually it's being paid, the creditor's being paid, so.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we can do it with the Chapter 13.
If you could check on that and find out, because it's possible then that because of, now you're paying your payments to the trustee and the trustee is dispersing the funds, is that?
That's exactly what happened.
Okay, so then it's possible that this $34,400 fine has been partially paid.
Yes.
So if you could look into that, and then, as soon as you find out, advise Mr. Hines. He can brief me before the 31st, but then we can follow up and handle these cases on the 31st.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Ms. Mosley
All
or
right.
Mr. Goodrow, any comments from the city or the community?
None from the city, Your Honor.
Just thank you for following up on these additional houses. The community appreciates it.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we move forward with the sentencing, I'm advising you that even though you've waived having an attorney for your prior hearings, you do have the right to have an attorney represent you for sentencing. So if you'd like to hire an attorney, I can continue your case. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, it can still continue the case, so you can go to the public defender's office and meet with them, or you can proceed today with sentencing without an attorney. But I want to make sure you understand you have the right to have a lawyer represent you today. So how would you like to proceed, sir?
We can go ahead.
We can go today?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you had a chance to review the report that Mr. Engelbrecht prepared?
Yes.
And Ms. Mosley, have you?
I have, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Engelbrecht.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Pre-sentence report for the address of 13807 Rugby, case number 16 CRB 2031. 36 days out of compliance, max fine $36,000. Max time incarceration would be 18 months. It's a two-family house in Collinwood, close to the Coit Road and 140th Street intersection, also close to the Cuban Job Corps. The house itself doesn't look bad from the street. It doesn't add a blighting effect, even though there's issues with the gutter soffit, along with there was some debris in the driveway. But the house from the street actually looks okay. It doesn't take away from the street. In regards to efforts at compliance, the defendant received a violation notice in November of 2015. He sold it to a separate party on December 20th, 2017 for $1,000. The county fiscal office lists the price as $35,900 for tax purposes. The violations or the citations were listed in the report. Defendant's financial information: he makes roughly $1,400 a month, lives on the same street as the property. Before the court, he's actually living in the same house that he grew up in right now. He owns one other property within the city of Cleveland. The house is located at 1485 East 174th Street. He's in the process of donating the property over to the Cuyahoga County Land Bank. He's been in touch with Kim Steigerwald. She sent him documents for him to fill out so that he could do the donation. In regards to previous cases before the court, there were two. One was 2010 CRB 10698 and 2017 CRB 4525. Both of those cases were dismissed. The defendant didn't have any other civil cases, no evictions that happened at the property, which is currently before the court. In regards to community impact, again, the house looks good from the street, looks okay. The defendant didn't do the work that was listed on the violation notice before he transferred it, so the work remains. But, in speaking with the defendant, I found that he was honest and open about, issues at the property, along with his personal issues that he was dealing with. So based on that, my recommendation was 1 year of community control in order for him to be able to transfer the property at 1485 East 174th Street over to the land bank, and that was it.
Thank you. Sir, what would you like to tell me?
Well, as far as me not completing the work right here, I had to go do like 2.5 years, and during that time, like, I really ain't have nobody to keep the properties up. Like, my mother, she watched it, she did what she could, but she ain't really know what was going on. So And then when I got out of prison, you know, I really ain't had the money to, I tried to get this stuff fixed, like I looked into it, but they said that whoever do the work gotta be licensed and bonded and stuff like that, and the work that needed to be done was like in a few thousand, so I couldn't afford to do it, so I just looked into other routes, you know, and I found somebody that wanted to purchase the house. So, as far as just like trying to keep the house clean and just, you know, make it look decent, just not let it go to trash. You know, I did that up until the time that it was transferred. But that's pretty much it. I really just couldn't afford to do it. I couldn't afford the taxes. I couldn't afford, you know, to maintain, you know, the property no more.
All right, thank you, sir. Yeah, looked at this. These were relatively minor violations. You don't have any prior convictions in housing court. You realized that you couldn't do the upkeep yourself, and so you transferred it, which was responsible for you to do. And it does appear that you kept the property clean and otherwise in good shape other than these violations, because Mr. Engelbrecht checked, and you don't have any grass cutting fees, you don't have any board up fees, which we frequently see here in housing court. So you know, yes, you should have fixed the violations, but you know, you said that your reason you didn't have the money, and so you were responsible and transferred the property. So under the circumstances, you know, you've shown quite a bit of mitigating factors. So I'm going to place you on 2 years of inactive community control. So that means you don't have to report to Mr. Engelbrecht. The reason I'm putting you on that is to have time, you know, while you're looking to transfer the other property. Once that other property transfers, if you'd like, you can file a motion to terminate your community control, and then that'll be over. So you're sentenced 2 years of inactive community control. I'm going to have you do 10 hours of community work service in lieu of the fine. I'm going to ask that you complete that by June 30th, 2018. And so you'll have the court costs only for this rather than a fine. So do you have any questions about this, sir?
No, I appreciate it, Your Honor.
Sure. Now, even though I didn't fine you, because I'm putting you on community control, I need to give you a notice regarding community control. The period of community control is 2 years inactive. Upon a finding of violation of community control, the court may A, impose a longer period of community control up to 5 years in total, B, impose more restrictions